There are numerous different things that I believe that are out there that may not be shown to be the facts when the investigation happened. We're not trying to hide things. In fact, after
seems like it.
After
You guys cut electricity to the house? No criminal background history, no, nothing. When it sure looks like you could have served this search warrant when he wasn't there, but you decided not to.
Execute that warrant at 6 in the morning with 10 carloads of armed agents and kick in someone's door with no warning.
At his home in March following a 6 a.m. shootout with ATF agents conducting a search warrant at his home.
ATF leader at oversight hearing. The House Judiciary Committee hearing was charged with tension as Republican lawmakers clashed with ATF Director Stephen Dettelbach over a contentious new rule concerning firearms with stabilizing braces. The hearing, marked by heated exchanges and interruptions, underscored the GOP's deep-seated grievances with the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms and Explosives, ATF, and its regulatory reach. The controversial rule in question aims to tie in regulations on firearms equipped with stabilizing braces, devices initially designed to help individuals with disabilities shoot more accurately. The rule mandates that arm owners register pistols with these braces as short-barreled rifles by June, a requirement that Republicans argue oversteps the ATF's authority and risks criminalizing unknown arm owners. They contend that the rule transforms a previously legal accessory into a regulated item, imposing new burdens on arm owners. Representative Troy Nels, RTX, exemplified the frustration felt by many Republicans, accusing Dettelbach of evasiveness and asserting that the regulation unfairly targets veterans and other individuals. "I'm not getting anything from him," Nels remarked, cutting off Dettelbach mid-response. This sentiment was echoed by other committee members, including Judiciary Chairman Jim Jordan, ROH, who lambasted the rule as an overreach of executive power. Jordan argued that such regulatory changes should be the purview of Congress, not unelected bureaucrats. Jordan's criticism was particularly pointed. "That's not how it's supposed to work in our great country. Congress writes the laws, and the executive branch enforces them," he said. According to Jordan, the ATF's action bypasses legislative authority, effectively making Dettelbach a one-man Congress. Democrats on the committee, however, defended the ATF and its director, emphasizing the agency's role in curbing armed crime. During the hearing, Dettelbach noted that a slayer in a recent elementary school tragedy in Nashville had used a firearm with stabilizing brace, highlighting the potential dangers these devices pose when misused. Representative Gerald Nadler, DNY, the committee's ranking Democrat, framed the Republicans' attacks as efforts to undermine an essential law enforcement agency. Nadler pointed out that the ATF plays a critical role in preventing armed crime, supporting local law enforcement, and ensuring responsible arm ownership. He also referenced legislation introduced by Representative Matt Gaetz, RFL, to abolish the ATF, a proposal he described as reckless given the agency's crucial duties. The hearing also illuminated a broader political schism regarding federal law enforcement. Representative Matt Gaetz' remarks encapsulated a faction of the Republican Party that seeks to significantly reduce the power of federal agencies. "I am one of those MAGA Republicans that would defund your salary, your agency," Gaetz told Dettelbach, arguing that local and state entities could effectively manage the responsibilities currently held by the ATF. In stark contrast, Representative Adam B. Schiff, DCA, criticized this stance, portraying the GOP as increasingly hostile to federal law enforcement agencies. Schiff suggested that Republicans' antagonism towards the ATF, FBI, and other agencies is counterproductive and dangerous. "My colleagues on the other side of the aisle treat you like you're some kind of a mass slayer, instead of someone trying to protect us from the epidemic of armed crime," Schiff asserted. Steve Dettelbach's congressional testimony. The recent congressional testimony of ATF Director Steve Dettelbach brought to light significant concerns regarding the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms and Explosives, ATF regulatory practices. The hearing covered various critical topics, including crime control, the engaged in the business rule, the use of body cameras, the ATF's budget, and the tragic incident involving Brian Malinowski.
We're not trying to hide things. In fact, after
seems like it.
You
guys cut electricity to the house?
On this operation, but I don't know any reason for them to seek a federal search warrant in a gun show case.
independent investigation being done by the Arkansas State Police and the local prosecutor.
No,
That's not trying to hide anything.
Execute that warrant at 6 in the morning with 10 carloads of armed agents and kick in someone's door with no warning.
The hearing also highlighted the broader implications of ATF's regulation on law-abiding citizens and their Second Amendment rights. Director Dettelbach faced intense scrutiny over the ATF and FBI's use of under investigation as a response to congressional queries. Critics argued that this tactic allows agencies to evade accountability, leading to no consequences once the statute of limitations expires. This practice was particularly criticized in the context of the January 6 pipe bomb investigations. The ATF's broad and vague definitions of what it means to be engaged in the business of firearm sales were heavily criticized. These definitions are overly complicated and can lead to individuals being incorrectly classified as firearms dealers. The statutory requirement mandates that anyone engaged in selling firearms predominantly for profit must obtain a license. However, the lack of clarity in these definitions poses a significant risk to ordinary citizens. Sparks questioned how these new rules would affect individuals who occasionally sell firearms without the primary intention of making a profit. She pointed out that many people might not read or fully understand the intricate statutes, thereby inadvertently putting themselves at risk of legal repercussions. The new definitions and rules proposed by the ATF have created a chilling effect on the right to buy and sell firearms. Law-abiding citizens now fear that they might be unfairly targeted by law enforcement due to these vague regulations. The concern is that these rules are so broad that they could be interpreted to classify nearly anyone selling firearms, even occasionally, as being engaged in the business of dealing firearms. These uncertainty and fear among arm owners can potentially lead to a reduction in lawful firearms transactions and increase anxiety about possible legal entanglements. Director Dettelbach attempted to explain that the new definitions were not new, but rather an implementation of Congress's directives, accompanied by 500 pages of detailed explanations. He argued that these rules were designed to encourage compliance with the law. However, the practicality of these definitions was questioned, as they might be too convoluted for the average person to understand. Dettelbach suggested that practical conduct-based indicators, such as accepting credit cards for payment or frequently gifting firearms to family members, could be used to determine if someone is engaged in the business of selling firearms. The zero-tolerance policy and broad definitions could lead to overzealous enforcement actions, similar to the ill-fated raid that resulted in Brian Malinowski's demise. Such incidents underscore the potential dangers of these regulations, not only to individuals targeted by the ATF, but also to the agents enforcing these rules. ATF raid incident. House Judiciary Committee Republicans scrutinized ATF Director Stephen Dettelbach over the slaying demise of Brian Malinowski, former director of Little Rock Airport. The incident occurred during a pre-dawn raid on Malinowski's home on March 19th, raising serious questions about the ATF's conduct and policies. Malinowski had bought at least 150 arms over 3 years, selling many at arm shows and other venues, despite claiming they were for personal use. Some of these arms ended up in the hands of individuals not legally permitted to possess them. During the raid, ATF agents claimed Malinowski fired first, wounding one agent, prompting them to return fire. Malinowski was shot in the head and succumbed to his injuries 2 days later. The interval between agents placing tape over Malinowski's doorbell camera and the slaying was less than a minute, leaving critical questions about the exact sequence of events. During the hearing, Republican lawmakers expressed frustration over the lack of new information about the case and the delay in the ATF's internal review.
Today, U.S. lawmakers are questioning the circumstances leading to the death of Little Rock Airport Director Brian Malinowski.
There are numerous different things that I believe that are out there that may not be shown to be the facts when the investigation happened.
At his home in March following a 6 a.m. shootout with ATF agents conducting a search warrant at his home.
No criminal background history, nothing. When it sure looks like you could have served this search warrant when he wasn't there, but you decided not to.
Dettelbach stated that the ATF would not begin its internal review until the Pulaski County Prosecutor's Office concluded its criminal investigation, which aligns with standard procedure to avoid interfering with the investigation's integrity. The incident has fueled Republican criticism of the ATF, with accusations of federal overreach and persecution of citizens exercising their Second Amendment rights. Attorney Bud Cummins, representing the Malinowski family, testified that the ATF's actions were reckless and ill-prepared, emphasizing the rapid sequence of events leading to Malinowski's demise. Dettelbach defended the ATF's actions as being within protocol, but acknowledged the necessity of a thorough internal review once the criminal investigation concludes. The outcome of the Pulaski County prosecutor's investigation remains pivotal in determining the next steps for the ATF's internal review and any potential policy changes or disciplinary actions. That's all for this video, folks. See you next time.